Welcome back to another episode of Your Rich Black Friends, where we are unapologetically rich in life, family, friends, and money. I'm your co-host, Aneem Awe, and I'm joined by my amazing co-hosts, B and Robert Jr. How y'all doing today?
Hey, beautiful.
Doing good.
Great, great, great. What's got y'all feeling rich this week?
Hmm. I can tell you what's not got me feeling rich this week, and I just
Go
not
for
to
it.
get political, even though everything is political. Um, the administration and what's happening to immigrant communities, specifically Haitian communities. Our family is from there, so like that has me not feeling rich because I'm feeling powerless. But in terms of what has gotten me feeling rich is just like time, ownership of my time. I've just been
Yeah.
resonating with that, like getting up and not feeling like I have to run at a bunch of different things. I get to just like dictate how I flow throughout the day, and it feels really darn good.
Yeah, that's honest. I appreciate that, B. How about you, Robert?
Well, I'm gonna double what B said and double my money uh, on just the ridiculousness of what we call politics in our country today, which I believe is firmly intended to create division, literally to
It's
create
happening.
division and distraction, so that we miss and don't use our discernment, right?
Yes.
So that's what's got me feeling, not rich. But what has me feeling rich is I'm in the great state of Georgia, where we have Keisha Lance Bottoms, who
All
I
right now.
speak and say will be the first Black female governor of the state of Georgia. Georgians need, deserve a candidate who
Yeah.
has experience. She was the mayor of Atlanta, who is not just from, but familiar with the dynamics, the politics, the people, and the possibilities of this great state, right? And I'm excited about her candidacy.
Hmm.
Stark contrast of who her opponent is.
Yep.
It's too familiar of the election we just went through in terms of a wealth, which is wealth doesn't mean rich. You know how we define rich, ladies and
Come
gentlemen.
on. We said that in episode one.
So I'm excited because I really believe not. And here's the truth. And I met her and I told her this when I talked to her. I said, you're the right candidate because you have the experience, you've had the exposure, you have the heart of what it means to be a Georgian. You understand Atlanta. And guess what? You being a Black woman is icing on the cake.
Yeah.
That has no bearing on your candidacy, your qualifications, or you being the right person.
Mhm.
When I said that to her, she looked at me like, I want to ask. No, she said, I'm going to start using that in my campaigns and how I talk, because nobody really, like, we care because we have a personal connection, right?
Yeah.
Origins need to know the person that is the right person, that is, has a care and is not playing games. Is
Yep.
not say, because I'm this, that's what makes me right. No, because of who I am and where I come from and the work that
Yeah.
I've already done. And I
Yeah.
think it's a great lead into our conversations that we're going to have today about some well known folks and just how your experience, your education, and your relationships, quite frankly, don't always help you to win the game. So
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
going to
Aneem,
talk.
before you go, Mayor Bottoms, if you're listening, why isn't Robert on your campaign? Like, please,
That's rich.
hello, that's
Hello.
rich.
Make that happen. Like, we gotta see this through.
Okay. Um,
Same. I reached out to her campaign and I met someone else on her campaign. So just know I am advocating for you and would love to, get in the fight with you. I believe we need you.
All right. In
Yeah.
the state of Georgia, this is a message for you all. Don't let that most recent presidential election happen here in this state. Like I don't mean to get political, but like B said, everything is political. This is do or die, right? There was an
Literally.
article that was published. Of course, it was through. I think it was NerdWallet. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember, but it was an op-ed piece that basically ranked Georgia at 49 when it came to healthcare, right? We already know Georgia's at the bottom when it comes to education. This is do or die. This is no time to play. This is no time for emotions and feelings. Oh,
I'm confident that her experience and her want to fight for the people of the great state of Georgia is what's going to get her across the finish line. We've seen amazing, unexpected turns these most recent election seasons. So we just have to, like you said, Aneem, Georgia, we're worth more.
Yes.
We are worth more.
You deserve
the last thing I will say before Aneem, because you absolutely need to tell us what's making you feel rich, is I was scrolling Instagram today, as I often do, and there was a woman who was saying that she was applying for Medicaid and she lives in the state of Georgia. They denied her on the basis of her weight. And I'm just like, that for me is another reminder of these red states operating from a place of profit before people. This is why we need to vote
for Keisha. That's all.
Yes.
Vote for Keisha. Right? I'm going to vote. I need you to vote.
Yes.
All right. So real quickly, what's making me feel rich? I hit an important deadline. I had to get something out today. It got done. It's moving the business forward. It's cementing myself in this leadership role. It's driving value. And so that's it. And for me, I mean, to echo a lot of the sentiments that you all have mentioned, the TPS ending, unfortunately, for Haitians and Syrians as well, right? It's frustrating, and to see the xenophobia online is very frustrating, and it just feels like it's nonstop. It's one of those things, right, where the algorithm, when you engage with it, it's going to continue to feed it to you. And unfortunately, I'm caught up in that cycle right now. So it's quite frustrating. And I do feel hopeless, or a sense of hopelessness in this specific regard. So I don't know. I don't have answers, but it's difficult.
Yeah. It's kind of, I guess, put a bow on it. You're right. And this is the attack. This is the plan, is that we get so overwhelmed and hopeless that people begin to doubt. Again, this isn't our political episode. Trust me, that's coming. World. Work is political.
Being Black is political.
Yes.
Political. Aspiring to wealth and richness in all areas of your life, it is political. And here's why it's political. It's because you can't do any of those things alone. And anytime you're dealing with other people, you're dealing with politics.
Absolutely.
AKA cultural nuance.
That's
the way I think about something and grew up thinking about it versus the way you grew up thinking about it, that's where the politics happen, because we have to bend and flex and ebb. And, you know, Aneem, where you're about to take us, I think the story that we're all, you know, talking about these last couple right now, by now everyone's heard about what happened with Ryan of the Pivot podcast and of ESPN fame, that he was let go of his good job. I mean, you know, his dream job. And there's a lot of perspective on it, just like anything on social media. People will always have opinion. But what we want to talk about today, each of us, the triad, having unique experiences, perspectives on this particular topic, and Aneem as our resident B, who's kind of the HR guru, the person who knows how some of these decisions are made well in advance of when they hit, as a leader who's had to make tough decisions, but who's also been on the other side of a tough decision. Right. So who wants to chime in and share? What are your perspectives on, you know, the right situation?
I think the thing that jumped out to me the most is this, like, we've been trained to believe that if we are excellent, that is in essence our insurance. That's our protection. That's this thing that will keep us safeguarded from these types of instances. And that's not the case, right? The companies can pull the rug underneath our feet at any time. And that's what we keep seeing. And it's disheartening, right? And when I think about like from the mental health aspect, obviously there's a layer of sort of grief, a wave of grief that comes with that. There's also a level of anxiety, right? When you experience something like that, your sort of foundation is shaky, right? If something you've like worked really hard at, you did really well, which he did, right? If you look at the numbers, you look at those type of measurable attributes, like it was there. So when you have an experience like that, it shakes up, it rocks your world, right? I love that he's open and talking about it and, you know, processing it out loud with the fellas and with his community at large. But I can definitely see how it rocks your world. It shifts everything in a lot of ways because you found your security, or you thought you found security. And so, like, that changes everything. And also the money, right? Let's be real. We're your rich Black friends. How one could navigate those situations and still come out on top financially. Y'all are like gurus around that, but it's crazy. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It hits you in so many levels emotionally.
Yeah, and obviously, I do not know Ryan Clark. I know him as a football player turned commentator. But one of the things that I was sitting with, and I'm totally making assumptions here, is that, like, as an athlete who has always probably been like very celebrated, like, you are the best, having to go through that experience, that humbles you and that humanizes you really, really quick. And it reminds you that no matter how much glory, championships, it doesn't absolve you from the realities of corporate America, right? And to your point, Aneem, around like assuming that we have this insurance, that insurance wasn't enough. And something he said that stood out to me, he said a lot of wonderful things. Like, I commend him so much on his vulnerability, like publicly sharing his vulnerability with us because he didn't have to. He had mentioned that, he mentioned Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows Stephen A. Smith. He's a commentator who he shucks and jives. He does the dance that his folks tell him to do the dance. And someone had asked Ryan, like, do you think Stephen A could have used his power to save him? And he was like, Stephen A don't got no power. Like, Stephen A's inside shucking and jiving and saying yes to master. And that's what's keeping him on payroll. It's not that he has any power. Your power is associated with your ability to dance. And the minute you stop dancing, you're out too. Right. Kudos to Ryan for sharing that vulnerable moment with us.
Yeah, this resonated with me very personally because I've been in Ryan's shoes. Ryan Clark is someone that I respect, not just because of his athleticism, not just because of how he pivoted from sports to commentating, and then how he developed the Pivot podcast, all of which were amazing accomplishments. And, he's an award-winning athlete. What I respect about him is his integrity. And here's the thing, nobody and no one can say they're perfect. And that's what I like about him. He will say something, reflect on it, and come back and say, you know what? I want to apologize and acknowledge that. He has more integrity than some of the people that get paid more money than him, and some of the people that will remain at the network where he was released, right? So that's really what, to be honest, appeals to me about Ryan before anything. He is a human that seems to operate from a space of integrity. Not perfect, acknowledging flaws. So that's first. Second, relating to the fact that I've been in a position where, as one of the only Black people at the table, in a senior leadership position, where you have so many people wanting that aspire to be where you are. So you have this pressure of holding on to it. But the reality is, we can't be everything to everyone at all times. And so he served a great purpose at ESPN. ESPN is a business and it's a corporation like DoorDash, like Amazon, like every company is just that. It's a company. And what broke my heart about his situation, as someone who's been in that situation, is I've been laid off several times, right? But he was very clear. He said I was fired. I wasn't laid off. And even if you wrap it up in the layoff, you know what the intent is. You know that and when some people on the inside tell you, yeah, your name is on a list, you already know it's not just business as usual, especially Aneem, I think you alluded to this, or the ratings, right? So as a Black man who's also been in a position of influence, because power and influence are two different things, right? You actually don't always have the position, but you can have power. And sometimes you have the position and you have no power. And so in his situation, he had influence, but not power. Stephen A. Smith has influence, but not power, right? A lot of people think our Black colleagues, just because they're in a higher position, have more power. So we want them to rescue us. We want them to say, hey, this is happening to me, help me. And I've been there. I'm just being very honest. This is what you can always expect from your rich Black friends. It's honesty. I've been in positions where I went to other people that look like me, and they did nothing for me but say, "Oh, I'm sorry that that's happened to you." Wait a minute, you're the head of this. You sit at a table that I don't sit at, and I'm telling you what I'm experiencing. And it's so sad because, like Ryan, you believe that because someone is your mentor, they can have a meaningful impact on your career. Not always true. And so that's my initial perspective is one, I respect him for his integrity. Two, I've sat at tables and been riffed and laid off from tables while doing great work. Like, wait a minute, we're doing great work. What I would say is layoffs and rifts, you have to do your best to work through the grief process quickly. And what I do think is that he could have taken a little bit more time for himself before going on his platform to talk about that experience. And I only say that because he was you know how long it takes to get over actually losing a job you love?
Yeah.
Recognizing that people who could have voiced support for you sat back quiet.
Yeah.
The work. And I remember having a leader one time and I asked her, and I hope she hears this podcast. God works in mysterious ways. I asked, wait, help me understand. Haven't I been loyal to you?
Wow.
He said yes. And it was the reminder to me that loyalty means nothing to a person who also is just as anxious about their job. Sometimes it's their fear, right?
But loyalty means nothing when you're an at-will employee. I would say 100% of the U.S. workforce, we're all at-will employees. Certainly there are levels of protections depending on the state you occupy, but we're all at-will employees. So like to your point, that loyalty means nothing when you're at-will.
Right. It means zero. I had the opportunity that he doesn't have to have a conversation with someone who I know is directly accountable. I thought you were accountable for me. But shame on me, while I'm being accountable for you, you're only looking out for your best interests. And so with Ryan Clark, you know, my prayers to you, keep growing, because this is just a growth moment. It's painful right now because you have to go through the grieving process. And we're going to dissect it a little bit more. But from your perspective, you know, Aneem, you started down this path around the grief. If you were Ryan Clark or the people that are watching who are experiencing that same thing, what would you advise?
I'll be truthful in saying that there's no rush in the process, unfortunately, right? And a lot of us try to avoid sometimes the discomfort and the difficult feelings that can arise from this experience. And I won't say lean in because I don't want to create that situation here, but I will say that you cannot avoid it, right? So you have to allow yourself to feel those things. You have to lean on the shoulders of your community. And this is where I go back to the richness of like having community, having supports, having people, having an opportunity to process that experience with somebody, right? Although it wasn't a favorable outcome, you got to talk to that person that you thought was accountable to you, right? Accountability, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, right? In this context. And so that was a processing moment for you, right? And you got to get some things out of there. And so I will say there is going to be a level of unsteadiness, especially when you get it back into your next opportunity. You're going to feel like anxious. You're going to feel like you're probably going to be overcompensating in some ways. And I want to just normalize that because you had a shaky experience, dare I say traumatizing experience for some people. And it can be traumatizing for some people because that's the way trauma works. Just because we both go through the same experience together doesn't mean we'll come out of it in the same way, right? Trauma is really like high levels of stress that you've experienced and you may not know how to recover from it. So I want to normalize that, right? Always intensity and duration of symptoms are the two biggest indicators of whether or not like it's going into a full-blown mental health issue or concern and when I might need to get help, right? If this is something that's lingering over a month, might be time to get some professional help and support. And there's no fast track, unfortunately. And so sometimes we have to sit with these uncomfortable feelings. Sometimes you just gotta let it out, right? When you think about men, especially Black men, sometimes where you all are socialized to believe that you can't feel certain things, you just gotta push through and be strong. No, cry if it hurts, right?
I trust that this man has some great attorneys and like a team behind him. But like I remember commenting on Threads or Instagram on his post when he first posted his reflection. I'm like, do not sign those papers. Keep your freedom to talk. And so I stand on that. But like, it depends on what's important to you, right? Like if he's trying to get onto the next network, which is very, very common for these football players, they recycle them from ESPN to Fox to NFL Network. And so maybe you don't want to put up a good, too much of a fight because you don't want to burn any bridges. That's real. But if you want to maintain your ability to speak freely, I say don't sign those papers. And the other thing I think this Ryan Clark situation is teaching us is that you can work, clock into your 9 to 5, but still be dedicating time towards building something of your own. Because yes, he's sad and he's definitely valid in his like sadness and the feelings and all the things that comes up for him. But right, he has that platform, right, to be able to reflect on it and share with the world that people are actually tuning in on. So I thought that was pretty powerful.
And got money coming in.
Yes.
And thank God has money coming in, right?
Biggest
A
thing.
couple things I wanted to chime in on is one, the duration of your mourning, because again, every loss,
Yeah.
you have to give your time to. Aneem, your point, you have to give yourself time to grieve it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you will find yourself all of a sudden out of the blue, just on the ground, on the floor, either crying or not able to really focus. It'll hit you if you don't actually make the space for it. So, Aneem, thanks for the reminder that if it's more than X amount of time,
6 to 12 months.
there you go. If time, then it's you got to get some support. And for me, what I learned to get ahead of it. So when I was laid off for the very first time, I was 23. It
Yeah.
taught me a lesson early on to not expect these jobs to last. And I think for people who have not had that experience,
Yeah.
they realize how good they are, but not that necessarily means the company's going to keep you because you're good, great, exceptional, or whatever. They make the decisions that are best for him. The young man that was Jalen, who was removed from Boston, that's a
It
great.
still hurts.
It still hurts.
It still hurts.
It hurts because he's best down,
He's amazing.
but you remove him because you're intimidated. And so I'm going to flip this to Ryan.
Yeah.
When the people that don't look like you but that are in higher positions than you are intimidated by you, you will end up on a list. And eventually, as they go through that list, your name will be crossed out.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take this as not even cautionary tales, just wisdom. Oh, how do I want to feel if that happened to me? Ryan Clark is an example of male vulnerability and transparency. I respect that and I love that.
Yeah.
And shout out to all the clowns that are clowning him because he's a human being. That to me speaks, to who you are, your lack of character, that you were raised and still think at your big old age of 20 something, 30 something, 40 something, 50 something, that a man who cries is weak. A man who
masculinity
is the weakest, because once that pressure, as a friend of mine, Jay Dunn, used to say all the time, pressure busts pipes.
Mm-hmm.
That's why a lot of men break, because they don't release the pressure valve. They don't know how to just easily ease it out.
That's real.
That's real.
That's real.
And so shout out to all the people who feel like they can clown a man who has done X number of things above and beyond what they have done and faced. You don't know what Ryan Clark faced going into a studio of years, having a conversation about a sport that he played,
mastered
on, right? Some of the people around the table that are commentating, you never even played the sport, but you people who successfully played the game.
Yeah.
And so for me, my help grieve the process. Get a therapist before you need a therapist. The best time to have a therapist is not when you need one.
Not in crisis.
Or right? It's before you need one. And then last but not least, I want to talk about some strategies and ways, we could just dissect it a lot more, but I want to make sure that we leave our folks with some gems and some rich nuggets that, we've all had to demonstrate, we've all gleaned and can now give. I would just say, as someone who's been laid off 3-4 times in my career, it taught me early to manage my money in a way that my money's not managed. All of this circles back to freedom.
Freedom.
And B, you said it. His name, he has the Pivot podcast. He was making money while he was making money. He was brand while he's building their brand.
Yeah.
Right? My faith is my biggest source of confidence.
Right.
What I can control is how I manage my money. And so, gentlemen, my question for you to ask yourself is, if I got a call in the middle of my shift, like Ryan Clark did, my job was eliminated, am I prepared for at least 3, 6 months, a year, multiple years, right? Are you ready for that phone call or that email or that inability to log into your computer?
Yeah.
Should it come?
I love that. Like, the other thing that I'm thinking about is just like, for our viewers who feel like they heard that question, they're just like, damn, no, I'm not going to be ready. What can they do to get ready? Like, if they're in a stable job right now, what should they be doing?
Yeah. I'm not a financial expert. I am very, very fortunate to have a financial advisor, a wealth manager that I work with. I've been working with her for the past 6 years. And one of the things we were chatting about is a lot of folks on Threads are talking about IRA or Roth IRAs and all these things. And I think that's great. But like, if you don't have the basics yet, I don't think it's in your best interest to be overarching or firing at all cylinders. And what I mean by that is, to Rob's point, maybe like 5-6 years ago, the conventional understanding was like, you have 3 months of emergency savings. You need to double that. I think 6 to 12 months. And if you really want comfort, you're moving towards 12 months of savings. And I think once you get to that healthy space, that's when you can start, IRAing or Rothing and all those type of things. But you really need to make sure you have the basic essentials down pat, and that begins with that emergency savings. And emergency savings truly means you're only touching it in emergency instances. You're not transfer over to my check-ins because I want to buy this shirt, right? Like, there is some level of discipline, and discipline comes through time and life experiences, right? Like, there's no judgment there, but that's what I think about.
No, absolutely. And for me, it's like, I see it as like paying yourself in a sense, right? So paying yourself allows you to put that money away and up and out of sort of your hands, right? I have like 6, 7, 8 bank accounts. I got a lot of bank accounts. It's so crazy. But there's some that I literally will get a debit card for, throw it away, and I'll never touch it. And like, money is just going in there so that in the time where an emergency situation or a situation happens that's unfavorable and I need to sort of get access to this emergency funds, it's there, right? It's set aside. It's not something that I'm dipping into. And so it's kind of like this out of sight, out of mind situation for me, so that I can ensure that I'm never like in a situation where, oh, this one account is bleeding out.
Kids are going to be okay, right?
Okay. Well, speaking of a kid, when I was deciding to leave my job, because y'all know I left my job 5 months ago at this point, I would look at my savings every day. And people would say like, that's very unhealthy, but like, it was my FU number. Like, I needed a FU number. FU literally means FU number, like, FU, I'm not taking this shit anymore. And so I would look at my savings every day. And there was one day I was looking at my savings. I'm like, this is a healthy number. And I had to call like my sister and others to just like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. She was like, the first question she asked me is like, how's your savings? I'm like, my savings is good. It's going to get me to XYZ amount of months. And then I finally did it. I walked into that conversation and I felt fearless because I knew I had the money and like, I wasn't going to let people play with me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, B. You got to have your number, right?
Yeah.
The number.
Some it's a 5-figure, some it's a 6-figure. If your upkeep is 6 figures, you really need to reassess what type of lifestyle.
Okay.
I have another conversation.
And as the resident financial, I won't say expert, but practitioner, because I spent 12 years in banking, consumer banking, mortgage banking, lending, so on and so forth, is what I learned. I saved my first $1,000 when I got into banking. Before that, I didn't know how to spell the word savings. But what I learned, similar to what you are doing, Aneem, and as well as you, B, you got to have separate accounts. So if I were advising myself at 25, right? So for all of you out there that are listening, that are 25, 35, 45, wherever you start, but I'm talking to the 25-year-old me, because this didn't happen until I was 28, right? I would tell him, first and foremost, what is your cost of living? What is your upkeep? So you got to have this conversation with yourself of, why do I live the way I live? because sometimes you're living too high, but there are people who actually live too low. You're making money and you're afraid to spend the money,
I
right?
think
So,
that's me.
but that
I definitely think that's you.
so that you live tomorrow like nobody else, and that's the mindset. When I got in the bank and I saw people bringing in big checks, small checks, whether people have $5 or 5 million, guess what? The goal was the same: keep my money, right? I need my money, right? I want my money, and so I started with $25 a paycheck. And when I got the first 1,000, which actually that was supposed to be for a vacation, but when you see the first 1,000 and you've never seen $1,000 in your savings account because you're paying kind of paycheck to expenses, it
Yeah.
invigorates you. It's exciting. So I began to double it. And before, went from 3 figures to 4 figures, 4 figures to five, dot, 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 dot. But it's a journey. It will take you years, not months, right? Do it right. Aneem, I love what you alluded to. So saving has to be your primary goal before you can
Has to be.
really think about investing and, doing these other things. People want to do all of the things at the same time, only making X income. Pick your top three: savings, which is your freedom; investing is your future, right? Like,
Mhm.
reduce the investing. I'm doing 200 to 300 a month. If you're in your 20s and you just do $50 a month, by the time you're retirement age, you'll have over 7 figures in your account. So don't think you have to dump all of your money into the market. Be smart, right? So savings account, your investing needs to be a portion. And here's the other thing: credit utilization, right? You can't live off of credit cards if you can't afford to live off of your income. You are really doing it. Take it from
Talk about
me, right? I've done that. So this is also something too. Before you can invest, what precedes investing is reducing your credit liability. If you owe $50,000 and you're trying to invest $500, $200, $300 a month, and you're paying 28 interest, the market's never going to catch up to that 30% that you need to pay off, ladies and gentlemen, right? We want you to assess my lifestyle, right? Start saving what you can. If you only make $12 an hour, right? Let's just be real. Some people are literally making in the teens, if not less. Save $5 a week. It sounds like, oh, but you blow $5 on coffee. The $5 doesn't even buy you lunch anymore, right? 5, 10, 25. Just begin to incrementally increase it. And then you begin to invest. If you work for a company, just do the minimum 401k match. That's what I've always done, right? Then eventually, like B says, you will get to the point where you need a financial advisor. And at the end of the day, whether you're making 100,000, 20,000, or a million, you need a financial advisor, a coach, somebody to help you with your money.
Last thing I was going to say is like, and I think this is the perfect time for the disclaimer. This is not financial advice. These are just three friends sharing their experiences with money. But Rob, you said something so important. Like, the way you show up and behave with at 60,000 is going to be how you show up with 100,000 and 200,000. So if you haven't like mended your relationship with money, then making more money is not going to change anything. I have literally seen it with previous friends get more money, and like, because they haven't addressed their relationship with money, they still have the same bad habits. Therefore, they don't have the money to show for it.
Absolutely. So we are twins. We share the same mother. But our mother, I remember she told me this when I was a young person. Our mother didn't make a ton of money. She was a CNA. She worked for 35 years. Probably highest payout was maybe $60,000, right? Full transparency. But I say this because she would always ingrain in us, like, the person who makes $30,000 a year and the person that makes $175,000 a year, at the end of the year, they can end up in the same situation if they don't have the skills and the support that they need. So people often, and while I do believe, a livable wage is important, people do need more money. But like B said, foundationally, if you haven't addressed the issues that you have with money, you're back to square one, right? So you're at the same problems again. And so, like, you got to resolve that sort of issue that you might have with money to get to a better place with money, right? And we're not the experts, but we're just your rich Black friends sharing our experience.
Who have been through it, right? Like, we've had the trials and tribulations in order to get to this point of like, nirvana state. Like, this is how it should look.
Yeah.
That's it right there. We've been there. A lot of people have shame around money. But if you didn't grow up thinking about money, how would you know? But the world expects you to know. guess what? You're a rich black friend. We don't expect you to be or to do anything but be curious. Ask the question. Don't be ashamed, because shame will keep you in debt. Shame will keep you in a lifestyle above your means. Shame will prevent you from being able to retire when you want to retire. And as someone who lives a semi-retired life at 49, I'm grateful. Similarly, our mothers, my mother never made more than $10 or $11 an hour, and that was later in her life. My mother never made $60,000 in a year. So we don't come from the means we've been blessed to uh, to grow and to develop and now steward. Because remember, at the end, stewardship is a big part of success with money, because it's how do I think about managing this? Because otherwise, guess what manages you? The trip that your friends want to take that you probably shouldn't take. You might think you can afford it, but guess what? If you don't spend that money, you can use that to invest in something or to pay down something or to save, right? We want you to live. We just want you to be able to live long well. Some of y'all living like you only live once.
Because, like, look, I will be the first one to say, like, sometimes I want a Porsche because all the girlies have Porsches on Instagram and things like that. Like, do I want a Porsche? Yeah. But is my car paid off? And would I be dumb as hell to, like, especially in this economy, like, with everything, the nonsense that's happening in this country right now, I would be dumb as hell to go get a new lease or loan or whatever. Unless I'm paying for that thing cash, it just doesn't make any sense. For me, I feel compelled to call out, like, a lot of us are trying to keep up with the performance that we see on social media, and it is truly just that. It is a performance. It is literally, some people don't even have it, right? Like, they go to a South Beach and take a picture in front of a car and we assume it to be theirs, right? So folks are truly performing. And so, like, in this, like, journey of, like, becoming rich, it's, again, going back to this place of discipline. It's knowing that, like, you're in it for the long game, right? Not for, like, the 60 or 100, maybe 2,000 likes that you might get on Instagram. I'm not in it for that. I'm in it so that when an employer talks to me crazy, I can quit in their face and be okay.
Be like, I'm out. But also, beyond the discipline, it's also a level of contentment. There's a level of contentment that comes while you're on this journey that doesn't allow you to sort of buy into the noise, right? Buy into, like, the hype online. Like, I need the Porsche. I told you the other day, I walked by BMW. I'm like, damn, I want an X5. Like, it's right there. Like, I have excellent credit. Like, I can get this thing today. But it's just like, what? And then I had to ask myself, what do you need it for, right? Your car is paid off. You have still a relatively new car, the 2021. It's low mileage. It looks cool. When you stop and have that sort of conversation with yourself, you find, or what comes out of it is that you're really trying to prove something when you have nothing to prove, right? And so that's where that contentment comes from. And so you got to get into sort of that habit of, like, just having a conversation with yourself. Why do you need them?
Doing this,
right? And it's not that you can't treat yourself. It's not that you have to deny yourself of the nice things in life, the enjoyment, the pleasure, the travel, and all those things. But just have a question, a conversation rather with yourself. Why?
Yeah,
Is it for others or for me?
there has to be a level of self-awareness, and I think we live in a very much subconscious reality. People are walking around not conscious. They're walking around living in this place of, like, acceptance, and even tying it back to Ryan Clark. One of the things that he said was, I just wanted to be accepted. And that's what people think to hear, but it is such a powerful truth that if we're honest, all of us have been in that position where we want to be accepted by our people, by the people on a job, by whoever has perspective or view on us. It is normal to want to be accepted. Where the risk comes in is when the acceptance of others exceeds your own acceptance of yourself, right? You two just spoke about it, and we're all in the paid off car bucket. I'm grateful that my car is paid off. I bought my car in 2013, and at the time it was a 2010, but it had like 30,000 miles, so it was good. And because I've traveled so much and left it, it has less than 165,000 miles on it, and it's a 15, 16-year-old car. People still think it's a newer car. To your point, Aneem, bigger than what people think. I'm fine with my car. It's to pay me back 1, if not 2x. So if it took me 4 years to pay it off, it needs to last me 8 years. So double. And that's post. That's post. Once I pay it off, it's 4 to 8 years post that. And so I'm grateful to now be able to not worry about the car note. I can choose whether I want comprehensive or basic insurance. I keep comprehensive just because you're gonna fix my car. If I don't have a car note, to keep right.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course it's nice. I know people who have bought cars and then a month or two later, that new smell is kind of gone, and you're looking like, well, how do you like your car? Oh, I like it. It got dinged at work. To be honest, sometimes, especially a car, people are malicious. People don't care. They will slam their door on your door and look at you like, what? Material things, ladies and gentlemen, they literally mean nothing. They will give you instant gratification, but unless you control, I'm buying this. It's okay to have the Hermes bag if you want an Hermes bag. You got to know why you want it, though.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They go up in value, and I don't know. I don't own a Hermes.
We actually both bought one.
I mean, you know about Hermes better than I. Doesn't it increase in value, or it's like an investment?
It does, but it's everything you just said. Like when you first get it, it's like, oh my God, I'm on top of the world, on top of the moon. And then like probably 2 days later, it's like, why did I do this again? So we actually sold both of ours and made a good profit. So, I mean, got it out of our system. Sometimes you do need to get things out of your system, and that's totally legitimate. But I think there are stronger assets that exist, like the market, that you'll see better returns on your investment.
For sure. And, you know, this conversation has me thinking about the book, We All Should Be Millionaires by Danielle. Basically, what she was getting at was this idea about broke bitch activities and millionaire activities, right? And so we have this propensity, depending on our relationship with money, to over index on either one. And so, like, one of the things that I want to get put out to the group is just like, what's one millionaire activity that you think we all should be indulging in, right? That thing that's going to buy us our time back, bring wealth towards us or help us get closer, or the thing that's just going to help us level up. And then what's the broke sort of activity that you think we tend to maybe should avoid? What do y'all think?
It's a great question.
I'll go. All right. There was a woman posted something about how she spent all this money for this coaching program. I'm just like, so what? What's the ROI? Right. And so, like, I think we need to be mindful of these, like, lurchers on social media that are trying to pull you in with these numbers and XYZ. Like, when we hear money, we hear particular numbers, our ears perk up and it grabs our attention. But just be mindful, because I just feel like that's a way for her to grab us in. But I'm just like, when you get to the root of it, I'm just like, who cares? What was the transformation? What did you get out of it? Like, how are you a better person? Be mindful. And then I think a millionaire activity or thing that we can be adopting into our life or practice is I think it's just movement, moving your body. I think there's great value and clarity that comes from that, and being that's how you build discipline, right? Start with that one small thing. And I think that's going to help transcend other areas of your life, but just start with that one thing. That's my take on it. What about you?
I think broke person activity is just aimlessly scrolling through Instagram and like actually purchasing on all the shit that influencers are pushing you, because they're getting paid for that and you're not, and then you get the shiny thing that the influencer told you to get, and then what? Nothing, right? You're still, nothing about your quality of life has improved post 48 hours of you receiving that particular package. So I think that's broke person activity. Millionaire activity, Aneem, I'm really resonating with the movement. Like, I remember before getting pregnant, I was CrossFitting every morning at 6 a.m. And like that level of discipline, I think allowed me to have like a very healthy pregnancy. But also like even today, postpartum has been really, really good to me. But I think it's part of because of how I took care of my body, but also my village. I have an incredible village behind me that is supporting me in this journey.
Absolutely.
Like all of those things are really great and physical movement. But my first one is around, the millionaire habit, if you will, is I had a doctor's appointment in the office. I met this elder woman. She was 76 and she was just like, you could tell she was in some sort of pain. And she started to talk about, her children not having time for her and her grandchildren. This is literally today. And it's kind of like it sucks to get old. But what I did in that moment was what I think millionaire mindset or millionaire habits could look like is sitting under someone that is wise, that has gone before you. You
Yes.
know how much knowledge is sitting in your grandparents or in your great aunt or your great uncle or your uncles and your aunts. Even if they weren't financially rich, I guarantee you there are some lessons that you can learn. And people that are rich financially and rich in life, they make a habit of sitting and listening to the stories and experience of our elders. So that's to me something I value and has helped me to progress along my faith, family, finances, friendships, and philanthropy sort of values. So that would be the habit. Ask yourself, when's the last time I talked to my grandmother, not just about what she had for dinner or how I'm feeling. Check in with your grandparents. What was it like when you grew up? This woman, literally, we talked about civil rights and pre-civil rights because she's 26, so she's been there, and her grandparents were slaves.
Wow.
We got to pass the wealth of knowledge, but the only way our elders can pass it is if we sit at their feet and are willing to listen. And so that's my one habit, millionaire habit. Broke habits are listening. The opposite of that is listening to somebody who doesn't have what you want, that has an opinion on who you want to be, how you want to grow. If they're not aligned with your vision for yourself, broke habits, broke mindsets stay together. Birds of a feather flock together. So if you don't want to be a part of that mentality, because it is a mentality.
Absolutely.
We outgrew and are continuing to outgrow the mentality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Other things won't be revealed until you have life moments. Ooh, that comes from when I was a little kid and we were homeless and I had to, stay here. My mom had to stay there and I was afraid. And so fear is now driving my behaviors around relationships, around money. And so for me, a broke habit that I try not to practice is spending time with people who don't think bigger than
You are environment.
yeah. Yeah.
What is it? You are the sum total of the people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's literally been like research studies to prove like that is certainly the case. So in closing, obviously we talked about the Ryan Clark situation and the layoff or firing, however we choose to frame that. There are more impending layoffs. What's your advice, especially you all as leaders in the tech sector where this is happening at a really high rate? What advice do you have to any of our listeners who might be sitting with this doom and worry and anxiety about impending layoffs, or somebody that may have experienced a layoff? What would you say? How can they come out on top, right?
I think the impending layoff, you have to focus on what you can control. Businesses are going to make decisions, and the decision is not about you. And as difficult as sounds, like I remember being in like role elimination conversations when folks are having their roles eliminated. I had to remind the individual, like, this decision is not about you and who you are as a human. This is a business decision. And so it may feel like I sincerely mean it. Like, you have to be able to parse out the two. So like, focus on the things that you can control and focus on building strong relationships. Like, not to say that relationships are going to be the thing that saves you per se, but what it will do or what it could do is like set you up for the next thing. Like, oh, I know this person is a brilliant operator. Like, her role got eliminated here. Like, how can I set her up for something else within my network? And so don't ever burn bridges, right? Like, do not go on social media and record and do all those type of things, because you will quickly burn bridges and no one's going to want to help you at that point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing that I'm thinking about and sitting with is that what's actually happening is that your employers are renting out your talent, right? You still own the talent. You still own your future. You still own whatever happens. And also what tends to happen is that a lot of people make their roles their identity, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to keep a healthy separation, right? That helps these sort of departures or untimely unraveling situations a little easier, right? So like, how do you maintain your identity even within work? And so I think that's something that we have to continuously sort of be thinking about, and like, never put your eggs all in one basket. B, you talk about that a lot. Like, I've never seen somebody also execute it so well as you. Eggs are spread out, they're everywhere, right? So that when these things do happen, it's not perfect. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel anything, but it does help a little bit, because I know the coins are still coming in, things are still moving and happening.
I love that, what you both shared. I never won a spelling bee, but I believe the word freedom and finance both have 7 letters. Just take the wisdom behind the message.
That's it.
Ultimately, we go to work to build a life. We don't go to work just to build someone else's dream. So first, you have to know what type of life you want to have. And are you living your life, or are you living the life that has been the template for you, or the thing you're supposed to be, right? So know, am I living my authentic life?
Right.
2, always expect that your name will be called, because eventually all of our names have and or will be called. As B said it is not a you problem. It is an organization's problem. It is the company's decision. Obviously, if you had voice, you wouldn't have made that decision. But that's just a reminder of how much power we actually do not have in the corporate, world. The best thing we can do, which is number 3, is think like a corporatepreneur. Operate in corporate America as if you are an entrepreneur. You own your talent. You are building your team, which is your community. And at any given point, I can be traded, or I can initiate a trade.
That's it.
You don't have to yield your power to the company. And whichever happens, whether I initiate the trade, that's going to come with some stumbling. That's going to come with some, buyer's remorse. But then you eventually realize, this is what I wanted to buy. So I got to deal with the bones and the fish, right? If you're laid off, I didn't make this choice, but here's the mindset that I always encourage people to have, that I embrace. Everything always works out for my good. God has someone somewhere with my name on their mind, just waiting for the right opportunity to bring me in. And sometimes you need that season to end so that you can move into your new season.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the last thing I'll say to bring it full circle is, think about seasons.
Yeah.
Literally, winter, spring, summer, fall. Those seasons end and begin every year.
Every year.
Year in and year out, winter's coming. So if you embrace, seasons change, just like the calendar, am I stuck in an old season and hope I don't get called out one day? Or do I want to initiate my season change and do something big, great, grand, while I'm also getting this 9-to-5 check? I need to be building a 5-to-9 check that will eventually replace that. So,
That's it. I love that. Thank you so much. So I just want to thank you all for listening. And a reflection question that I want to leave our listeners with is that if your job disappeared next week, what part of your life would still be making money, right? We'd love for you to comment below. Let us know where or how that might look like for you. And if maybe not, it doesn't, right? We can continue having on the conversation. So if this conversation challenged you, the way you think about work, share this episode with a friend who still believes working harder is the only strategy. And make sure you follow Your Rich Black Friends for more honest conversations about money, careers, relationships, and building wealth that goes far beyond your paycheck. Thank you for listening. And until next time, y'all stay well.